probably going to make this point more than once over the course of this segment, so I'm going to start right now. I'm not blaming Jeff Carter for anything here, okay? Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. I have blamed Carter for a lot of stuff over the past couple of seasons. I'm probably guilty at some different stages of this process, picking the lowest hanging fruit and criticizing the guy because it's easy, because everybody's done it. But that's not where I'm going today. I'm not. And you're going to have to take my word for it that I'd be saying the same thing right now, even if the Penguins had taken both of those games from the Blue Jackets, and if there hadn't been, that ugly result the other night in Columbus with yet another blown lead and whatever. But so this isn't like it's Carter's fault. However, at the very first opportunity to put him back in the lineup, even after an entire locker room had acknowledged that Jonathan Gruden's contributions, that the energy that he added to the lineup in beating the Hurricanes last Tuesday was something that lifted all of them up. They all talked about it the whole way around the room, and I know that because they were telling me. Lars Eller said it. Brian Rust said it. Sidney Crosby said it. Alex Nedeljkovic spoke passionately about it. And what ended up happening? The very next game. This isn't hindsight. I told you guys at the time this was going to happen. The very next game, Carter went from being what really was a healthy scratch since he'd been part of the skates and practicing. Sullivan decided after the fact, I believe, to label him as an injury, or as the extended continuation of an injury. But Carter had to get back in there, just had to do that, could not control himself. Listen, I feel like I've been fair in terms of both the praise and the criticism of both the general manager and the head coach for what's gone wrong this season. But this isn't one that you can pin on the GM. I mean, sure, the GM could go storming into the coach's office and say, hey, that's enough. Stop doing this. But the coach is the one making this call. And the coach cannot be controlled, meaning he can't control himself when it comes to this sort of thing. And if the Penguins are, in fact, and you would hope that they will, going to continue moving older players, Rickard Rakell, Riley Smith. I mean, I could come up with a handful of more names that don't have no movement clauses, and continue to get younger, to continue to try to get more energy, more fight, more whatever it was that they didn't have in that third period the other night in Columbus for the millionth time, then they had damned well better get themselves a head coach who's on board with the program, who's in tune with what you're trying to achieve, instead of just being beholden to these veterans, committed to them. It's just, I don't get it. You're going to say that I'm doing this after some of you are going to say I'm doing this after the fact and it's easy. Well, Carter had no points, no shots on goal in either of those two games against Columbus. They still ended up with 3 out of the 4 points. It's missing. It's missing what I'm really trying to get at here. They hit on something in one of the most complete, one of the most uplifting wins that they had all year in that game against the Hurricanes. They felt great about that. They were talking about it off the record, away from the cameras and microphones. This was neat. This was something that gave us hope toward next year. What happens? boom, pulls the plug right away. Never gives it a chance. I don't want to hear about face-offs. I don't want to hear about who's a natural center or this or that or whatever, because he's not a natural center. He's good on face-offs, really good on face-offs. Never been a natural center throughout his career. Not back in Philadelphia, not in LA, not here. And this organization as a whole has a heck of a lot more to gain from having Sam Poulin, Jonathan Gruden, Jesse Puljujarvi, Valtteri Pustin. John Ludwig was getting scratched for some insane reason. Stop it. Stop it. Let it go. Let him go. Let Carter go. And I say that in the metaphorical sense. Nothing about this organization is going to change until that's either stopped by the head coach himself or it's stopped by the GM. It's like it's a disease or something. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Michael, who says, well, DK, I might be delusionally hopeful, but the Penguins still have a microscopic chance of making the Stanley Cup playoffs. And even if they end up falling short, how important is it in your eyes to gain some momentum coming out of this season as opposed to just falling into the top 10 draft spots? Well, the most pivotal thing I think to remember in this equation, and pardon me if this comes across as no kidding, but it feels like there's a lot of time when fans want to figure out, what should I root for here? A win or a loss? Which one would be best? Which one should I be? It doesn't matter. It just doesn't. You can avoid stepping on a crack to break your mother's back too, but there's still a chance that her back will break regardless. I'm of the view, and I'm going to repeat this from the opening segment, that the team that was put onto the ice to beat the Hurricanes and the things that they did and the feelings that they had about that were worth nurturing, were worth pushing further. That's not to make Jonathan Gruden out to be like the next Alexei Kovalev or something. He's not that. He's just a dude. But he's just a dude who did a lot of things that night to help a team win, which has been the chief missing ingredient to this roster all season. That's why you constantly see a goal given up right after one is scored, just like happened yet again Saturday night in Columbus. That one only took 9 bleeping seconds. That's why you see all the collapses. That's why you see all the blah that goes into so many of these shifts. Well, that night, you didn't have that. You had people skating around, making things happen, inspired, according to them, not according to me, inspired by Gruden. And in turn, it was other young players who stepped up with their own energy level and so forth and got it done. Instead of watching this, did you see Gino's shootout attempt the other night, the one that ended the game in Columbus? That's what I'm talking about. It looked like he wasn't even trying. It looked like he didn't even care. And I know he gets like that, and we're all supposed to understand it, and we've understood it for 17 years, and I've been one of those people who's been semi-making excuses for him myself for a long time because he's gotten you elite results by the end of the season. Well, he's not that guy anymore. Why was he even put out there for the shootout? When's the last time you saw Gino look like he gave a crap in a shootout? There's just, I don't know. There's not 1% of me that believes that Mike Sullivan's going to be fired. There's $15.5 million guaranteed to the man over the next 3 seasons, which is plenty enough to have me convinced he's not going anywhere. But how does he change? How does he get away from being so beholden to these older players. It just blows my mind. We are still in the year of our Lord 2024 talking about Sullivan and Jeff Carter. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins, and we will do another one of these tomorrow.